Welcome to Miles with Me.
My name's Marcia.
I'm Ellen.
And where are we headed today?
Today we are headed to Scotland.
Glasgow, Scotland.
Glasgow. Today we are headed to Scotland.
Glasgow, Scotland.
Glasgow. Well, we actually kind of went outside of Glasgow, up into the hills. You know what I noticed?
What?
On the way to the distillery, you take a little bus ride through Scotland, right?
Yeah, so it was actually pretty nice. They told us about Scotland and, different aspects of the government and stuff like that, which is typical of any bus tour, right?
Right.
And they took us through the hills and everything, the highlands and the lowlands.
Yep.
And then we saw
a whole bunch of herds of sheep.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's true. There is at least one black sheep in every family. A couple actually had two. So that is a true old wives' tale.
We did find it quite amusing that when we were driving through the towns and seeing the herds of sheep on the hills, that there was always at least one black sheep. So what's the difference between Scotch and whiskey?
It's still whiskey. It's just you can only be called Scotch if you're made in Scotland.
Gotcha. So I am not a fan of
any kind of whiskey.
Any kind of whiskey, Scotch, whatever.
She doesn't do brown liquor. Yeah.
Yeah, normally if I drink anything, it's rum of some sort, a sweet rum. She grew up, on the other hand, drinking whiskey.
Drinking Scotch. Let's go to, where did we go first? We went to the distillery. We went to the Glengoyne distillery.
Yep.
Okay.
And what does Glengoyne stand for? You don't remember?
The Lake of the Geese?
Glen of the Geese.
Glen of the Geese. Okay.
Yeah.
So and Scotch is determined on where we learned on our tour that your flavors in the Scotch are brought about by where they get their water from.
Well, there's multiple things that contribute to the flavor. The source of the water, how they mull the barley, like how they treat the barley, and then
the types of tanks that it's distilled in,
right?
And
the distillery tanks, and then the barrels that it's aged in. So all of those things can contribute to not only the coloring of the whiskey, but also the taste of it as well.
And they actually still they're one of the few that still use the wooden tanks.
Yeah.
And they only use their barrels for 3 brews.
Yep.
And they feel that the second brew is the best.
Yep.
The middle one. And once they're done, they sell them off to those other Scotch companies.
We'll get to those because that was actually kind of amusing.
We had a hilarious story that's coming up, so stay tuned.
So one of the things that I really like about the Glengoyne Distillery is it's a family-owned business.
Correct, yes.
And they are also very, very in touch with the processes that they use to make sure that they are environmentally friendly. And they even have some connections to some environmental preservation organizations in Scotland.
And they're very small. They're not like the giant mega conglomerate.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed the fact that they were the first legal whiskey maker in Scotland.
Yeah.
You know what else was also cool? The road separates where they brew it and where it ages, right?
Correct. So the distilling processes were all done.
It's made in the highlands.
Yep.
And then it ages in the lowlands.
Yep. So that's actually pretty cool. And you'll see as we approach the distillery, our bus actually parks
in the lowlands.
In the lowlands. We have to cross the street and we end up entering into the highlands. And the whole process, I was pretty impressed with the way they do it, and that they've been using the same facilities and they still use the same process that they've been
For
doing
more than a century.
since 1833, I think it was.
1833, exactly.
Yeah. So they've been using the same process, even with their drying house. So the way they dry the barley and everything that they use. I started recording the early part of the tour, and then you'll see.
You have to stop because it's a fire hazard if any flash or any type of electronics can like explode the whole place. So you can't once.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, there's a massive risk.
You were closer to him when he said
Yeah.
it, so I didn't really hear what he said. But it's also because they have a proprietary process. They are the first legally licensed maker and distributor of whiskey in all of Scotland. So let's talk a little bit about the location of it, because they own a bunch of acreage on the right on the side of a mountain.
Yep.
Or like the highlands and lowlands. And then it's called Glen of the Geese because they have natural spring waters and the pond or like the lake and everything, where the geese migrate to and from every year.
Yes.
So that's where they actually have naturally sourced water right from the springs on their own property. Did you know they also have, I found this out by reading their website, they also have some, they've partnered with a bee company, a bee preservationist. So they have beehives on their property as well to help make sure that all the flora and fauna and everything are...
That's cool. I did not know that.
So what did you think about the tour, like
I thought it was really cool and interesting to see how everything's made and to check all that out. Yeah. So, I mean, that was impressive. Obviously, I wanted to get to the tasting. It was pouring. So, obviously, getting out of the rain was a thing. But even standing on the back deck overlooking the pond out back, I wouldn't really call that a lake because we have Lake Erie, so that's a lake.
So we actually only saw the pond because there is a pond there, which is right off the back of their tasting room. You'll see in some of the pictures that we have, there's a path that goes up along the side of that pond. And you can actually, if you have more time than what we had, you can actually hike up into more of their nature, like the land and stuff that they own.
Yeah, when you do an excursion with a cruise line, you always have limited time. So they're trying to show you as much as they can in a small amount of time. Right. If you're out wandering on your own or you just went to Scotland, you would have more time to look at this stuff.
Yeah.
You don't ever expect to have a lot of time on a cruise excursion.
Right. Yeah, you're allocated a very small amount of time.
But still worth it. It's still always worth it.
I think the hardest part about this excursion was when we went up the stairs to the top.
The one set of stairs you could see right through it, like
they were like metal industrial stairs going up I have a picture of the outside of the tower, but I didn't get a picture inside the tower of the stairs. But they're like metal industrial stairs that are open, and those were kind of my mom's afraid of heights, so climbing the stairs were. She
did very well. She did very well.
Yeah, but she was able to climb the stairs and get up into the top part where we learned about the barley. And this was also where we found out that we aren't supposed to take videos or pictures. So I do have a couple pictures from inside that room, a little bit of video from before I respectfully stopped recording as they requested.
Yeah,
because they showed some of the older machines that they've used, and they have updated some of their machinery that they use, but the process is still the same.
Correct.
From the hulling and all that of the barley and whatnot. I thought it was because alcohol, if you don't drink like me, well even you, she only drinks once a year, maybe twice a year. I might once every couple of years have a drink or whatever, but when you are walking through a distillery, you would actually expect it to smell more like musty, like that alcohol.
You'd expect an alcohol smell.
Kind of smelling like a dirty bar or whatever, but
like even a brewery smells.
Right. And So when you walked into the distilling room where they had the big casks, whiskey that was going through the process, you could open the vats and you could smell them, but the overall smell of the whole distillery, it was not an overwhelming like barley or musky or like that brewing
But they
process.
also like main doors and overhead doors and stuff like that. All that was pretty much open. So the whole facility is well ventilated and aired out. Obviously, I mean, especially alcohol is a highly flammable thing to begin with. So, I mean, they have plenty of ventilation in place.
Yeah. I also thought it was cool. So when we got down to the lower part towards the end of the actual, they had a, I don't know what they're called, the metal distilling machines, like, I don't know what they're called.
Okay, well, we'll look up what they're called.
Insert word here.
Insert, yeah.
The shape of their machinery it's like specific and customized to their process to make sure that the drips and all that stuff are specific for their alcohol. For the way their alcohol content and all that, the colorization and stuff like that. It was very interesting.
And then they have all these little things for like quality control to open it up and take a taste and make sure that the quality is what they expect from their whiskey.
Yeah. Overall, from a distillery standpoint, especially knowing how old this one is.
Excessively clean.
Yes.
But it's like they enjoy being a small family-owned company. They don't want to be a giant mega conglomerate.
Yeah.
You know?
They have better control over their product because they don't have, you know...
we feel that they do. Right.
And I'm sure they feel that way too. That's why they don't, you know, become a bigger...
exactly, yeah.
All of the staff was extremely friendly.
Oh my God, yeah.
The one older gentleman who was doing part of the tour, he was cracking some pretty funny jokes. It's how they explain, but also when you come out of where they finish the whole brewing and distilling process, there's pipes. So when they're done and it's done being brewed, they actually have the pipes that run out of those rooms, those buildings. They go up across and then they go down under the street down to the barrels so that they can put all of the whiskey in the barrels.
I didn't see those.
Yeah, it's there's the pipes. They run it all through the pipe system, and so that way they don't actually have to
move barrels
around. They actually have a whole pipe system that they've got
I completely missed that part.
Okay, so just tell you what happens now. Well, the spirit comes out through these stainless steel pipes. There's anything that's loaded into the ground building up to the site. That's the filling station, and that's where they fill the casks with the spirits.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool too. He kind of mentioned it offhandedly, as you were, because you were taking some pictures. She was taking selfies with the big copper vats and stuff behind her. So that's when he mentioned the pipes that they run.
So, and they only make single malt whiskey.
Yeah.
They do not make blended, period.
And they also, as you mentioned before, they only use their barrels for aging three times. So, and then maybe
we should do 3-finger shots of it then.
Maybe. So when we were in the aging room where they were explaining the process, the different colors of the whiskey,
the sample aging room,
the sample aging room, they had a display of all the different colors based on how long something was aged and whatever type of wood the aging barrel was made out of,
and what color the whiskey would turn.
Yep.
Based on each of those factors.
Yeah. So, and in this room, you can see 6 or 7 different types of barrels. I've got a really cute picture of Mom standing next to the wood wall where you can see the different types of wood that they use. And then, of course, the barrel room.
some of the barrels in the room where people have purchased a barrel of a particular type of the whiskey that they make, some of them have a sheet or a blanket covering the name of that barrel owner. I think that's beautiful that they respect that and they're not out advertising, oh, so-and-so always buys a barrel of our whiskey.
There was one guy on our tourist group who kept asking about...
How does it compare to Johnny Walker? How does it compare to
Like,
Johnny Walker?
Everywhere throughout the process. So no matter where we were, whether it was in the barley room, the distillery, wherever we were in
literally
the tour,
every time he stopped to talk, how does it compare to Johnny Walker? And eventually our guy just went, Johnny Walker, and spit on the ground.
we thought that was the best reaction.
It was awesome.
And when you're in Scotland, okay, so why would an American tourist go to Scotland and be so obsessed with Johnny Walker whiskey? Which,
well, Johnny Walker is still Scotch.
no,
It's still made in Scotland.
Is
It's
it?
just one of the giant distilleries there. Yes.
oh,
It is mostly Johnny Walker is blended. I don't think Johnny Walker makes a single malt. It's all blended. And some of it, the higher end, is good and expensive. But no, the regular stuff does not compare to Glengoyne.
oh,
You have to spend the money. But Johnny Walker is still Scotch, and you can't be called Scotch if you're not made in Scotland. Remember that.
right. Well, I was just assuming that Johnny Walker was
You can't
a whiskey.
cut this out. It is whiskey. All Scotch is whiskey. See, that's where.
Did you know?
That's the difference between I like whiskey and she doesn't like whiskey.
Right.
See,
But also in Scotland, they spell whiskey WHISKY.
oh, there's no e.
There's no E. Yeah.
That I did not know. See,
that
I
I found
just
out.
drink. I don't.
I found that out through my Google research.
Dr. Google knows everything.
So yeah, and I thought that the presentation, the way they had the woods and everything set up, the older gentleman that was doing that part of the tour,
You might not like being called older. I'm just saying. If you see
he was talking to my mom, and they were talking about being older folks. So
okay, all
he
right.
was referring to himself as an older gentleman.
Okay, all right.
In fact, he made a joke about to my mom about, what, am I not a gentleman?
So I'm not a gentleman. Is that what we are saying?
He was great as a tour guide and very helpful when it came to
Answering questions and all that. And you could tell he obviously was at a point where he'd had enough of the Johnny Walker conversation. Because that guy, as soon as he said Johnny Walker, that guy never brought up Johnny Walker again. At all.
So after that room, we ended up going, we walked up to the back part where they had the tasting room.
Yep.
So as we're walking up the stairs to the tasting room, there are people standing up at the top of the stairs with the shots of whiskey for you to grab. And again, I've never drank Scotch or whiskey before, ever. My mom has on occasion, over her lifetime, had it several times, so she didn't have any issues with the tasting. And so there's the whole process of
I think
tasting
you should
whiskey.
insert your TikTok here. I'm just saying.
Well, I will insert the TikTok. I made this TikTok. You swirl it and you sniff it and you look at it. You check the legs, which I don't know what that means because I didn't ever see any legs. It's whiskey.
It's supposed to like stick up the sides a little bit. It's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
But all of that, it can help you determine the quality of whatever you're about to drink.
Right.
And obviously, Ellen,
I determine the quality by the flavor and how it tastes.
So what did you think of the whiskey when you first tried it?
Delicious. Yummy. Yours was good too. I got 2 samples because she didn't like it.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a Scotch or whiskey drinker at all. So it was very strong, and I'm glad I had the opportunity. I enjoyed the distillery and the tour, and all the information that we learned.
Yeah, because we love learning things, right? It's not about the sample at the end. It's about learning things, learning the culture, learning the history. I love to learn history of places.
Right. And knowing that this distillery has been operating in the same location since 1833, that's pretty darn impressive.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful location. I've got some pictures here of us off the back, like, deck area of the tasting room over the pond and whatnot.
I brought a small 18-year back that the kids helped me finish that Christmas.
Grab that box.
So I brought a nice little 18-year home, and my sons helped me finish it off at Christmas time, so they got to enjoy it.
Yes, and it's a great box, but yes, they drank it, so we only have the bottle left. But one of the other things, and I mentioned the awards and everything that Glengoyne has gotten for their sustainability process and everything. Another part of it is the boxes that they use.
Really?
I found this out by looking on their website as well, that all of their boxes, they make them specifically so that they can either be used to gift things, to store things in them. Instead of recycling, they believe in making things reusable. So they make all of their boxes and everything, like, we're going to keep this, even though the whiskey is empty. And the quality, like the construction, the way they put these things together, they're so nice that when it comes to just storing it on a shelf, we're not knick-knack people, so we don't buy knickknacks or anything like that.
I'm not about things,
right? So we this is something that, because this came from Scotland, we will keep this as like our souvenir, even though she's already drank the whiskey on the shelf. But that's another thing about their sustainability. I thought that was really cool. Just the whole process.
And we'll leave that there so that if anybody wants to zoom in on it.
Yep. There's a bunch of things just about the distillery and their processes, the awards that they've gotten for the things that they do. I was very impressed.
It's been unhurried since 1833.
Yep. After we stopped in the gift shop and you got your whiskey, we continued on the tour.
And we went to Loch Lomond.
Yes.
Which was a gorgeous, gorgeous lake.
Yes.
Loch. We're in Scotland. We have to call it Lake Loch.
Beautiful area. They actually took us to, apparently, and I didn't know this until after we got home. When we went to Loch Lomond, we were taken to an area that is more of a touristy type area. But it had a boardwalk area there with some cute little shops and whatnot. And so
I know we got a photo at a historical marker of some type too.
Yeah, some of the shops. So they had like little ice cream shops and some snacks and stuff like that you
gift
could buy.
shop where I got my shirt.
It was kind of one of those areas that, you know, when you're on an excursion, they're always going to take you to some shopping area, because that's how they help boost their economy, by bringing the tourists from the cruise ships to places that they can shop and spend their money.
It's all about the money.
I ended up getting a cape, my Scottish cape that I love, and I actually wear that one in the next one that we went to.
Yes.
And yeah, so what did you think of, so about Loch Lomond, it's world renowned for the wildlife and the outdoor exploration and stuff that you can do.
Borders like a nature preserve type thing.
It is the largest freshwater lake in Britain, in all of Britain. And it's in the first national forest in Scotland. So it's in Scotland's first national forest.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. It's one of those areas that, because our excursion was mostly about the distillery, it's one of those things that if we had had more time, if we were in Scotland, like a direct flight.
There's tons of hiking and
there's so much. If you're into nature and the hiking and doing anything out in nature,
photography. Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Yeah, if you're a photographer, it'd be a beautiful spot to get.
So yeah, it's one of those things that if we weren't on an excursion from a cruise ship, I would have loved to have spent more time there because
Oh,
it was
yeah.
so pretty and the nature and everything. So it's one of those, oh, by the way, we're going to go here for a few minutes
Right.
and then take you back to the cruise ship.
Yeah, the excursion was really about
The
Glengoyne.
distillery. Yeah.
So
And one thing I really loved about Scotland, again, it's because both of our heritage, we both have Scottish in our backgrounds.
yes,
So would you go back to Scotland again?
100%, absolutely, yes.
I'd love to see
Can we
more
go?
of it.
Let's go.
Let's go. So,
I want to see more. There's like
so where are we off to next in our next video?
Belfast. We went. There's some really cool tearjerker stuff coming up in Belfast.
Yes. So
And some history that I don't think a lot of people even remember.
don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
YouTube needs to know that you like
Yes.
the videos.
Yeah, help the algorithm, help other people find our videos too. So help us out.
Help
We'd
us
love-
out. Come on,
we'd
help a
love for you
girl
to
out.
join us again. So
Thank you for putting some miles on your YouTube journey with us today. We appreciate you.
we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Checker's over there stilling my rubber duck.
Eh,
Hey, Checker.
Checker. No.